Cause you ain't got nobody that give a fuck. But when you get somebody that give a fuck, you don't give a fuck. That's the problem. This is why we clash all the time. I do whatever the fuck you want. Have you noticed that?
This is not a test.
Have you noticed that?
Drive, man.
It's
Like no
not
matter
no
what
drive.
the fuck going on,
You can't be
I
negative.
still got to keep going.
But you can't be negative with your significant other.
I'm not negative. I'm telling you where the fuck we going. We
But
got to
that's
keep going.
negative.
How that's negative by keep going?
That is negative.
That means bills still
All I
got
hear from
bills
you
still got to get
is
paid.
why
There we go. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the, I would say ordinary, extraordinary, but in the case of this young lady, I have to say the extraordinary, ordinary. I'm gonna flip it like that because she's definitely extraordinary. And glad to have you here. Thank you for coming on, and I'll compliment you on your smile and your whole aura. It's brightens up this space. How are you?
Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna let you have the show from the beginning. Why don't you just tell us something about yourself? Talk a little about yourself in terms of life, your business, history, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody. I'm Natasha Hunter. I am the owner and creator of Chocolate Chick Apparel. It's a clothing and accessories line. You can find it at CholcolateChickTees.com, TEES.com. I'm a 20-year Navy veteran. I guess I'm going backwards. So owner of Chocolate Chick Apparel, 20-year Navy veteran, and born and raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's see. I have a daughter, single mother. And so my life pretty much revolves around those things: my business, Chocolate Chick, and motherhood.
All right. Well, shout out to you, to your daughter, to Minneapolis, Minnesota. People are sleeping on Minneapolis. I mean, Minneapolis used to be that just where? Oh, that's where Prince is from. And
right.
Didn't Janet Jackson fly into there once or something like that? And now it was like the hotbed of one of the most renowned years in the history of the United States.
Yes, we're more than Kirby Puckett and Prince. No disrespect, because, but like when I first left Minneapolis and joined the military, that was all people knew. Oh, they knew the Vikings and, Kirby Puckett and Prince. Right, and I'm like, we're so much more.
Yeah, the Vikings, the ones that made it to the Super Bowl probably several times and like never actually won it. But yeah, the sports team.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I'll just dive right into some of the questions here. And again, I appreciate your time.
Okay.
So you and I were talking a little bit, and when you decided to come on here and be extraordinary in ordinary spaces. And one of the things we talked about was social media.
Yes.
We were talking about social media. Actually, I had started out asking you if you were a feminist.
Right. I was wondering where.
And you asked me where I got it from. And actually, I was trying to be funny. I was sort of throwing something out there for shock value because I wanted you to answer the message. And you asked me where I got it from, and we sort of segued into talking about social media, how certain people throw things at you through social media, and how we got into a conversation about that. And so I'm in agreement with the reality that social media is a space that allows sort of just any random person to have a voice and say whatever it is. and not necessarily what's on their mind for what it's worth, but they'll just throw things out there. And a lot of times it's, it is what it is. So I want to ask you, what's been your experience on social media in terms of the positive versus the negative postings and the things that people sort of throw out there? I mean, do you think certain posts and content get more attention, meaning positive posts versus negative posts? You think certain posts get more attention and reactions from people, and why is that? And lastly, what can be done to address that, if that is the case? Is there something that can be done to address the fact that people seem to be so negative on social media, if that's your opinion, or is that just the nature of people?
Okay, so I think first, from a business standpoint and even just a personal standpoint, yes, certain types of posts definitely get more attention. If you're showing posts where sexuality is on display, gets more attention. Posts where you're placing somebody as the common enemy, somebody that everybody can come on and bash, those are going to get attention. Provocativeness, as the age-old adage goes, sex sells. So the thing about sex now is that it's in our face all the time. So to me, it's kind of taken a broader look, or sex is no longer just, coitus. It's so much more. It's the way you dress, you dance, you talk. Yeah. So I do think that those types of posts get more attention. And children. We got sex and babies, the product of sex, right? So those posts get a lot of attention as well. Do I think it's negative? Only when... Okay, I'm gonna tell you what bothers me. There's a lot of unsolicited...
Okay, talk to me now.
It's a lot of unsolicited. Like if I log on at 6 a.m., I don't necessarily want to see ass like first thing in the morning, right? Or maybe a post where somebody's in a fight in a parking lot. So I think that's my biggest problem with social media. I don't have a problem with people, expressing themselves, because I do the same thing. But I think it's the fact that so much gets thrown at you when you're not asking for it. That's the problem for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like you get inundated with the it causes the thing to lose value, to be cheap, and to be sort of not extraordinary, for lack of better words. It's like
and it makes me, I don't like when I feel like I'm being programmed. And that's, what it lends itself to. I think it's like, this is the trending topic, so this is what you're gonna see. I didn't ask for that, so
I find like and I wanted to ask you this, that in my opinion, social media and virtual social spheres such as Twitter, Facebook, those are actually rooms, in the sense that you talk about them as media spaces where people can sort of have conversations and speak and engage with each other. And in reality, I think when you talk about the Black community, for example, when you talk about the Black community in particular, in real spheres and areas where we meet, there tends to be, elevated voices. Sometimes, depending on socioeconomic conditions where we meet up, there tends to be arguments or violence, or just raised voices, in the sense
we can just say passionate,
very passionate. I mean, to put it politically correctly. But
just because, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, and to that extent, where we have passionate discussions, in reality,
Yes.
It's not going to be so different even when we meet in virtual spaces. For example, on Facebook, when we talk about sex videos, twerk videos, oh, he slapped the shit out of him videos that get these hits. I noticed that is across the board, but it's particularly prevalent in our spheres where we have Black people. And it seems like it resonates, it's a resonance of sort of this dysfunction. I mean, you can call it dysfunction. I know it's some places it's passionate, but it crosses over into dysfunctionality when we're leading sort of in popularity with twerk videos, with violent videos, with shootout videos, with this rapper said this and that, and they shot him, sensationalism. Whereas in sort of when you look at cute cat videos or my German Shepherd was alone at home and this is what he did video. And you see like in sort of mainstream trends, those things get millions upon millions of views. Whereas our highest trending videos seem to be, she told her baby daddy.
Yeah.
She told her baby daddy her side dude, or just some ridiculousness. Do you think that is a reflection of, right? Our virtual social spheres are sort of a reflection of, our condition overall.
Yeah, I was gonna say, people hate when I say this, but I mean it's our fault as far as what is popular to us. Now see, and this is where the conversation gets multi-layered, because like we were talking about earlier with the programming issue, right? So we have that, but we have control. Like I feel like we're in love with acting like we can't do nothing, we can do stuff. Like you can just not watch those videos and they're gonna stop posting them. Like I don't know, it's so frustrating.
No, I
don't want to say things that are, I know I can be abrasive and I don't want to be, especially after you check me for feminism.
Pause. That's what we're here for. We're here for that. Remember, speak your mind. I can always go back and edit it. Wink, wink. Trust me. Say what you feel.
Okay.
But I wanted to say something to what you just said, and it's that I agree with you to the extent that when you talk about programming, I think it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy or a perpetual feedback loop when we develop a taste for something. On this channel, there was a video that it's called That Tasty Wop in Fast Food Media. Is there anything good to eat? Go check it out when you get a chance. But it specifically talks about what we develop a taste for.
Right.
And I use Cardi B's smash hit sort of as a exemplar of what we've come to develop a taste for in terms of media consumption. Right. And I think that developing a taste and acclimating one's taste buds is not just something, it happens across the spectrum in media. It also happens in actual nutrition and food. You can develop a taste for something that's not necessarily wholesome, but then you will develop a craving for it, and that's what you will tend to go to even while it destroys you. Yeah. But on the flip side of that is one of the most uncomfortable things to do is break out of sort of what we develop a taste for.
Yeah. Habits, addiction. Let's just call them what they are,
Right. Yeah.
Yes, it's very hard, and especially, it's hard to stop going to Golden Corral when everybody wants to go, right?
Yeah.
Even if you know better. So I mean, it's like kind of giving the same question back to you. The only thing we can do is just, be a league of people that refuse to fold and hope that we grow. You know what I mean?
Aha. Because this is what I was gonna suggest and say to you. You mentioned Well, to the extent that it's our fault, there's one of the further questions down that lends itself to what you just said, and I'll just put it out there now, being that it can just be part of this conversation. Is I was going to ask you, do you believe that the topics and the subject matter that reign supreme in our social spheres is subject matter that is natural to us, that is actually grassroots, that comes from us, given a whole historical context of who we are as Black people and who we've been? Fast forward into this day and age, when it seems like the negativity and dysfunctionality is the topic of the day, is that something that's our native tongue, or is that something that is more superimposed by the dominant industries and those that sort of select and also impose the trends and suggest things? And that's not to say we don't have any responsibility to change those things and to sort of look for more wholesome things to ingest. But that if they're putting liquor stores and McDonald's on every corner and it becomes so convenient, and the presentation looks so appealing, do you think that that's something that is, a reality for us? And that's part of the equation we need to take into account when we're trying to problem solve.
Definitely, that's definitely a problem, as well as something we need to take in account. But right now, I'm so big on personal responsibility and accountability that I know it will take forever to change institutions, but they will be changed. They will be changed. But and I believe that road will be easier the more we change our personal things, right? So for me, the start is really with self, or with us. And once we acquire more knowledge and actually the desire to have it, instead of just always going with easy, low-hanging fruit, things of that nature, then we'll be stronger when it comes time to take on the institutions, Like right now, I just feel like it's a little disorganized, a lot disorganized, to tell the truth, a lot disorganized. And we need to just get more fit warriors before we worry about the institution. There are still things that we can do immediate circle before we know that, and that's going to be, but that shouldn't be stopping us from doing what we can do on our levels.
I love that. I love that you say that. And I think that's why sort of this meeting of the minds is so important and crucial. I want to offer for your consideration, and I love the way that I speak, like, I don't know why. Sometimes I don't know how else to speak, but for example, you have an army, and an army represents a nation. Now, typically with any nation, only a percentage of that nation is going to be soldiers, right? For sure. And when you have a nation, when you have an army, that is a relatively small percentage of any given nation. That nation that is behind the lines, the army is supposed to afford them the comfort of being artistic and
ready
things and such and so forth. And when we talk about the Black struggle within the realm of the United States, I don't think that our community has ever really been afforded the leisure to be as creative as we otherwise could be, were we not all obligated to be soldiers on some level, meaning struggling and fighting. Now, that being said, an army it has its specialized divisions. So you mentioned the larger society is only one part of a larger problem. When you approach a problem that's complex, there are going to be variables within that equation, within that problem. And I think that sometimes the trap that we fall into as Black America is that we are taught to think and pronounce in either or, in zero sum, in extremes, in political correctness. Often sort of these rules of language we seem to apply to us so much that we self-censor. And what I mean by that is, when you stated there are things that we need to do with us, and the problem of the larger society, while it's real, there are things that we need to do with us and self-accountability. But I would suggest to you that within an army, you have a division that specializes in certain enemy fronts, right? So you have an intelligence gathering industry division, and you have infantry, and you have, Air Force, etc. There are people within our movement and community that do focus almost exclusively on self-accountability. Whereas we should not feel obligated to be at odds with those divisions within the Black community that tend to focus more outwardly on white supremacy, for example.
Right.
And while we are in different lanes, I would say the orientation of our highway is in the same direction, meaning the destination would be the same. If it's true north, people that are in different lanes, but often what we wind up doing is saying, well, it's either this or it's that.
Yes. And I like this. We can work this militia example or this military example rather. Because check it out. Like, if you're going to invade, right? Like, why should everybody be by land? We need some by air. We need some by sea, and we need some by land,
That's true.
So
we need snipers, and we need hand-to-hand people, and we need SEALs that.
Yes. And just the Black community can't seem to grasp that concept, in my opinion. It's either I want to deal with this type of Black person, and that's the person for the job, or this type of Black person. Like, we don't know how to work together.
Now
completely.
Now check this out, Chocolate Chick. Now, you Chocolate Chick. Do you ever get called Chocolate Chick?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. It's fitting though, because I'm looking at you. You're a Chocolate Chick, but I don't know if chick is. See, now I'm gonna get in trouble because I don't know if I should.
That's
say.
Okay, because
she brands herself Chocolate Chick, y'all. So
what's wrong with chick? Why do people hate chick?
Well, okay, we won't go down that road, but
why not?
That's a whole because we were focused on this. I want to talk. We can circle back around, but so do you think that is the case that when we say Black people don't know how to coexist, co-struggle with people in different lanes, that literally and technically is a sweeping statement? It's an all-inclusive, because Black people is an all-inclusive sort of nomenclature.
For sure.
But when we say, but as you and I are sitting here and we're talking to each other, obviously we cannot be rightly counted within that sweeping indictment or call, or that, that's not true of us. So we are two individuals. And so to make the statement that Black people don't know how, to me, it's an example of us being the language that we use to define and to articulate things often is a language that is all or nothing sort of language.
Okay.
When we say Black people, and what is true of today and what has always been true is that it's always a select few that spearheads the body. So even if we were in the 50s or we were in slavery times, whether we're talking about Harriet Tubman or we're talking about Malcolm X, it's always been the select few that sort of are the thinkers, are the leaders, are the conscious minded. Often the masses are wayward, and they typically don't get on board until they see the obvious results. and they
For
see
sure.
the winning strategy often, and it becomes permissible in terms of mainstream to resonate with that message, then they'll get on board. So
True.
I wanted to say to you, at least, and this is something in my life and ongoing learning process, I found is particularly useful in terms of my own morale and esteem, is that I have to think in that language in terms of, I can't say Black people per se, no matter what I'm seeing on social media, no matter what the algorithms are suggesting to me. That's a mainstream sort of construct. I have to know and understand there are many people like myself, like Chocolate Chick, that are not sort of lumped into that mass of we don't know how to work together. I mean, those of us that do, we're gonna do it, we'll make it happen. And then when we win, right, everybody is gonna be sort of, we will then influence the masses. And I don't know, I just wanted you to chime in on what you think about that, you know.
My response would be, and we're not supposed to think about our responses while we're listening, so I was trying to be present.
I could see your thinking face, that's cool.
But okay, so of course, when I speak and I say Black people, white tennis shoes, green boots, of course, I'm intelligent enough, and I assume that whoever I'm engaging in conversation with knows that I don't mean all. I'm just speaking in a quick, concise type way, but I never mean all, because that's like almost impossible to be true. So I don't mean it like that, but I will say this. I feel that more of us need to step into our roles, because we don't have the luxury of saying, well, normally this is how this goes. We're not in like a regular fight. We're not in a regular situation where everything is fair. Like, I don't feel like we have time to just, as a whole, sit back and wait for the leaders to lead.
That's true.
So that's why I'm like, and of course I understand, the concept of the talented 10th and all things or whatever, but I just think that we're a little past that kind, we have more urgency than that.
I agree. And just to clarify, when I say that typically it's not the majority that steps out and leads, I don't mean that that's the optimal situation. I mean that I think of it in those terms, so that I don't feel that I don't find myself being persuaded negatively, like looking around and seeing the majority of Black people that are not on code, for example. I often have to remind myself that, hey, that's always been the case.
Right.
So that's not something that's going to sort of disanimate me, or be a blow to my morale, or get me off of my purpose, or have me to throw my hands up. Is just sort of convenient to me, for me to speak in certain terms and precision, and recognize the nuances, not only as I speak to other people, but as I speak to myself, i.e. my thoughts and my innermost thoughts, because it is a feedback loop. When we say things like, Black people, you and I as adults, we understand what we mean. We mean those people who we have in mind.
Right.
The problem is the real manifestation, which is the sound patterns. It says Black people. So younger people or other people, or even us, as we listen to each other, we don't get to appreciate the nuances.
Right.
And we don't get to sort of paint the picture with the different nuances, so that the person can properly appreciate the image that's right in front of them. And the language, the more precise and specific that we can make it, without, while still being, to the point, and while still, respecting time of the essence, the better off because then we help to form better our own thoughts and opinions of our listeners and as we hear ourselves.
Okay, I'm with that.
Facts.
Take that.
Gender warring. Gender warring in the Black community. Well, we talk about the list of dysfunctionality that we talk about in social spheres. Like when we talk about twerk videos, we talk about people cursing each other out, people slapping the shit out of each other at the cookout, and shots being fired. I noticed that relative to the Black community, this gender thing seems to be more prevalent with us. And I'm not saying this to be provocative per se, or even that you have to like respond sort of in depth or to the comfort level. I just want to offer this as a general statement for the listeners to think about. And of course, you're welcome to, chime in on that. But I would say, and I wanted to say, I mean, it seems like that the relationship dynamics between Black men and Black women, it seems like it's different than in other racial groups. And I think speaking in terms of consistency and the relative quality of other factors of our life, such as education, criminal justice, in the workforce, health conditions, healthcare systems, etc., it seems that our condition in those realms of life is always relatively subpar, or has been consistently subpar when as compared to other racial groups. And when we talk about the realm of sex and gender role, it seems that we also occupy a unique situation. We have a unique situation. And to me, I mean, it would seem illogical to say that Black people are different in all these other areas of life, and that those differences are generally negative. Black people are also different in the area of gender role dynamics, but that is the only area where we are winning or we're better off. It seems that Black people are also, it would dictate that we're also suboptimal in the area of gender roles and dynamics as well, when you measure quality of life and households and everything. And I say that to elicit, either responses for this channel, but also, I don't know if you thought about that or if you want to offer something at this time.
I mean, we definitely have issues. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I have to that specific statement. I agree, and I don't really understand what's going on, like between the Black man and the Black woman. I don't know.
I have an idea, and I want to get your take on this. Okay. So you've seen the yin and the yang model, right? You're familiar with the yin and the yang. And so you have two forces. And the forces, when you look at them, they're actually balanced, right? But the forces are equalized, but they're not equal forces, meaning they're not the same. One is starkly Black, the other is starkly white. And that represents opposites.
Right.
But when you look at their configuration, they fit perfectly together precisely because they're apex complementary. They're different necessarily, because when you look at the form of the yin, it shares a form and equality of volume with the yang, except their configurations are opposites.
Right.
And that's how they fit together. If you are to inverse the yin and the yang, for example, and make them both yin or both yang, what's going to happen is, they're not going to exist in harmony. they may coexist in sort of a parallel dimension, like, I mean, parallel to each other, except there will be the entirety of the other side of that sphere will be left unoccupied.
Right.
And I think that we don't appreciate, it was sold to us that justice and equality is a concept of being similar or identical, and that the notion of occupying different spaces or roles was sold to us that it meant that one or the other had to be preferable to the other. And I think that we miss the harmony that can be attained when the two are symmetrically fitting together, but they actually appreciate that they are distinct.
Right.
And I say that to say, in the Black community, and I'll do this for, to be sort of politically correct, which is another self-censoring, like I just got through criticizing. But say you have the yin that exists prevalently in the Black community and not enough yang,
Right.
or vice versa. What you will have is an imbalance. And then those niches that are supposed to be fulfilled by the counterpart will get left vacant. And I think that in our community, in reality, when you remove, say, when we talk in realistic terms, when Black men were physically removed from home spaces, meaning in the prison industries or in just compartmentalized in other spaces outside of a home environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's to say that it's not that Black men and the traditionally masculine force is self-sufficient in and of itself. It means that it has to be part of the wholesome picture. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd have the same sort of imbalance if you were to remove all of the women and have pure masculinity in terms of, if you take sort of traditional attributes ascribed to masculinity, like all logic and not enough feeling, means too harsh of a rulership. Whereas all too much feeling and not enough
femininity,
right, creates not enough rules, boundaries, disciplines, and consequences per se. And I think that our current state of gender warring is the manifestation of an imbalance, whereas those two forces, instead of being harmonized and complementary, are opposing. And just food for thought. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Man, that's good, especially with the
well, I have
the
to
yin and yang analogy, because I'm looking down and I'm just I can picture it. And when you're saying, like, okay, when you remove, I'm sorry, which one is the mostly Black one?
I think the yang is masculine. I think the yang is masculine because I've heard sort of jokes and punchlines about dudes say, I got yang. So, but it might be, I might be wrong. You know what? You go ahead and talk. I'm gonna do a Google search.
Okay. So it's like, okay, so like, if you only have the white side, which I think that's the yin, but if you only have the white side, but it comes with that little speck of yang, right? And so when you're raising people, it makes sense when you put it that way, because say I have a boy and there's no male guidance around. Well, I have a speck with me, right? What I think you need to know, what I hope, it's just a little speck of what all manhood or whatever actually entails. And so if I have a child and then he's raised, like that, and he only gets a speck of what he needs, and you make that.
No, right. I'm having an aha moment. I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And you make that generational. What you said really makes sense.
Right. Yeah. And you sparked an aha, because the yin and the yang are individually they come together and complement each other, but you're right, there's that small circle within each one that is the embodiment of the other within itself. It's just that it's not to the extent that the other has overwhelmingly. And footnote, yin, according to Google, yang is white. And
really?
Well, I'm sorry, what am I looking at here? Yang is white and the masculine is the yang. The yin is black and feminine. But the yin and the yang works, you know, you can use hot, cold, yin, yang.
Yeah, either or, but like I just could visualize that as you were speaking, and I'm like, that makes sense. When you speak, I mean, just even with the word deterioration. Right. Degradation.
And I think language is so important because the way we speak of things, so you and I are speaking, and as we're speaking, the language we use is allowing the imagery and concepts to form in your mind as well. Though we're two different individuals, and what we can share between each other is the language that can give form to the concepts when you speak to me and I'm speaking to you. And so the precision of that to help us dominate our own language and hence our own thoughts and ideas and conveyances. I think the more we're able to do that, the more we'll be able to step away from the dominant language of the mainstream culture. Because when I say to you directly, the yin and the yang can learn that they cannot exist as the yin and yang, as that harmonic figure, unless they can look at each other and appreciate the difference and then how they fit together, right? Versus the yin saying, or the yang saying, you have to be more, yin saying, yang, you're toxic, you have to be more yin. And now you got a whole bunch of yin that is wobbling down the street, is rolling off to the left because it's a misweighted ball. Or the yang saying, no, yin, you know, we can do without you, right? We can do without you. And then it's also not going to be the yin and the yang in harmony. And we have to understand and appreciate that between each other, because I think a lot of the language we get is given to us from a dominant society that helps us to form our opinions.
Because I don't want to lose this, and I agree with you again. However, this goes back to personal accountability and responsibility. This whole conversation could have easily not taken place if I just decided I don't really care to understand language. I don't care to understand yin and yang or anything, you know?
Or if I wasn't able to chase you down and get do the interview.
You ain't have to chase. You might have had to trot a little bit, but not.
I trotted a little bit, and then I had to stick my foot out and trip you up. Then I caught you.
Funny. But no, seriously, because I mean, like when I'm on Facebook on the personal side and not the business side, I like to talk about things. I like to talk about because I think emotional intelligence is important. If we're gonna lead our, if we're gonna, if our dream as a culture is to get out of this white man's country, like emotional intelligence is gonna be important, but we don't talk about that. Like there are people, I'm a business owner, but I'm definitely not the most successful Black business owner I know. Or business owner, I know. So there are people that can really tell you how to, make $1 million business. I'm not one. I can tell you what I did, but I'm not an expert in that. But what I am a self-proclaimed expert on is talking about feelings, going in my mind, or even helping other people to go in their mind and pulling out things. And I think that that's equally as important, but we don't focus on that as much. So yeah, I don't know.
That's well said. That's wonderful.
Thanks. Thank you. Often I'm
Yes.
in no man's land when I want to talk about these things, but I'm like, okay, we build another 10 Black Wall Streets. If we don't trust each other, if we don't know how to love each other, if we don't like each other, I really don't see what good it's going to do.
Right, right. And I agree. And this is
We'll
what,
make some of us richer, but
well, yeah.
we'll still be surviving. We won't be thriving. I want to
Well,
be in thriving situations.
and when we say richer versus enriched, this are two different things. But what I was gonna say, and it made me think about this, like when I was doing this channel, and you know, this is a struggle channel, it's just starting, you know. But the thing is, I was thinking about just different lanes, and some lanes are just reaction videos. Like Ridden what's his face got off. Okay,
Right.
sensationalize a video about that, a reaction video.
You brought up something. I have to write it down so I won't forget, so we can talk about it after this. Hold on one second.
Cool.
Sorry.
That's all good. We'll pause the video right there. So yeah, when I was starting this channel and I was thinking about potential lanes and what could be most quote unquote successful, I considered like just doing a lot of reaction and response videos to the sensationalized topic of the day, you know, whether it's Rittenhouse or Little Nas X or somebody. And I do respond to certain things that happen, but only in the sense that it has something to contribute intellectually or wholesomely, because I made the determination that while this sort of content will not necessarily grow as fast or as quickly, it is more enriching. So even if there are fewer people that click or listen, and I feel like sometimes, like you said, like I'm a voice in the wilderness when I talk about certain things, that's fine, because the echo carries, and sometimes it's meant for the few. Any elite area where there's something really valuable often requires the select people to come and to attain unto it. That doesn't make it any less valuable. The fact that it is
you are not gonna make me cry right here.
Go ahead and cry. That'll go viral.
You are not gonna make me cry.
That'll go viral. Cry, chocolate chip. Come on. No, I would edit that out anyway.
But I mean, what you're saying, and when you said, like, you know, it's a little struggle channel, I've been going through that in business. Like, what a gear shift here. But I don't know. I just feel like I need to get this out. But because like my business is successful. It's, you know, been in for about 7 years. But I found myself doing what you were saying, like following the crowd, and I had to. Like, I started doing react every time something happened, right? Then Chocolate Chick had to say something. And it got exhausting fast. Because there was so much happening and somebody else was already saying it, right? And so I started feeling fraudulent or whatever, because I was just repeating, or not even, I have the same feelings, but I felt like if I wasn't talking about it, then I was doing a disservice some kind of way. And I had to come to terms with myself and just understand that I had other things to say.
Right.
And those were the things that I need to say in order to be authentic to me in the areas that I saw where we need help as Black people. And I'm saying that because that has affected my popularity. Like anytime you take a hard line or a hard stance on something, it will affect your popularity. Even if it's something that can help people or it needs to be said or heard, you know? And that can be hard for people because a lot of people don't want to be unpopular, you know.
Right.
But that also goes back to just having the proper tools. And yeah, I don't know. It's such a mess. Like,
no, that's cool. You know, I think I did a video on this channel too called Jesus Christ, the Man Not Sellout. And
I watched part of that.
What do you mean part? Hold on.
Well, I'm a busy woman.
Toss it, chocolate chick. That video is all of 12 minutes long. You better go watch the thing because it has a conclusion. Anyway, well, using Yeshua as an example, there was something that was offered that he didn't have in the world, and that was sort of, he was elevated to a pinnacle to just sort of taste and see the nations of the world. Yep. If you think about being elevated and seen of people and having glory and stuff in the world in this realm, it was something he turned down in a crucial moment so that his true purpose could be manifest. And then not only did he turn down being popular, he turned down being popular, being rich, not enriched, but being rich in the world.
Yes.
Popular. And when he turned that down, presumably it probably didn't feel good, because in other words, it wouldn't have been a true temptation. But the temptation was there. He turned it down to be unpopular. In other words, he was brought back down from that elevated height, put back on, and in fact, under the earth at some point. And what that did was the true purpose and popularity actually wound up coming through. So the essence is, had he not turned down the temptation to be popular and rich, he would have never suffered, right? Being unpopular and isolated and all those things. But that, in a sense, is actually what allowed the true seed to take root. And what he became, now when you look at it, I mean, the guy's multitudes of times more popular than he could have been had he grabbed the low-hanging fruit in the first place.
Man, say that.
I wanted to say that about, oh, look at you. Come on now.
I told you I was going to cry.
Come on now. Don't do the yin thing of it.
I don't care. You don't have to edit that out because I'm cool or tough.
Don't do the yin thing.
So rare.
You doing the yin thing on me now. You touching that circle of yin within me. You come back, we do that. Chill now. Come on.
I'm just saying, like,
real talk.
Like, we don't do this enough. We don't have real conversations that will inspire people to be in their purpose. We don't have those conversations.
Well, I got you. I got you here in this channel.
And if we do, we glaze them over and make them cute. You know what I mean?
They're punchlines and cliches.
Yeah, like, let me wrap this up in a pretty bow. And I haven't lived a pretty bow life. So that pretty bow stuff kind of turns me off, but I work with it, right? Because we all have to work together. But this is the truth. These kind of conversations, I love them. Sorry.
The other thing don't be sorry. The other thing I was going to say, that what you talked about is, I was watching a movie, and it's called Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai. Forrest
Whitaker. Yep.
Yeah. And, you know, throughout the phases of that movie, he sort of prefaced each scene with ancient Japanese quote. I believe they're Japanese, since he's saying samurai.
Samurai, yeah.
But he, one of them said that when, and I may be wrong, but I'll go back and pull that quotation off the internet and probably put it into this video. But it says that when the hawk enters into the midst of prey, though the hawk finds itself in the midst of 1,000 of them, it does not deviate from the one that it had initially set its eyes upon. So when you are an individual surrounded by distractions, temptations. What if what all these things can manifest in a sound sphere, in a sight sphere, in a thought sphere, as the voice of thousands of potential deviations. When you are single-minded and you have, like the hawk, no, I fix my eyes on that one and I will not deviate though 1,000 others flock around me. What happens is, were that hawk to get distracted or deviated, he'd probably chase them all and just in the circles and would never catch anything.
Right.
Because that's part of what happens when you're amongst the flock. But when you set your eyes on a purpose, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that there are all those other voices and distractions. You know, what you learn is to hone and to focus and go after that initial singularity. And I think that when we apply that to situations and sort of the mindsets, it really serves us well. Because when we make up our mind to do something or attain a goal, it helps to be single-minded. It doesn't matter that 1,000 other voices on Facebook are saying something else or chirping away or chattering or whatever, even in response to what we put out there.
Right.
The one, what we're doing in our single-mindedness is what's important, because that way we will secure the prize.
Okay.
You know, and that I will go further to say that's different in the nature of the hawk versus those other sparrows that are just flying around. Right? The difference is in their mindset. In that case, we're talking about a physiological difference, but I mean in terms of the parable. That's why some are just flying around, flocking in circles and repeating each other in chorus. But when you see the individual that is single-minded and passing through the multitude and is going straight and has that individual's mind is fixed, they are necessarily different than the rest of those, you know, winged creatures.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's an honorable way to be.
So this is where you're selling me on chocolate eagle instead of chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. No, that was in response to when you said sometimes you feel like you'll say something and no one else is listening, no one else is hearing. People are saying all types of things, and that is the sort of the parable, that don't allow yourself to become distracted or even looking left and right. Imagine if a hawk is hunting and it fixes its eyes on that initial one and goes for it. And it doesn't even look, because they have zoom vision. They zero in and they say, I'm going to get that. I'm going to catch that one. Because if I start to look around, what's going to happen is I'm going to lose sight of it. And I may veer off and try to catch a different one. But when that one zigzags, then I'm going to look to the other one on the left, you know? So it's the purpose is that, you know, keep the eye focused, and then it doesn't matter what's going on all around.
Right.
Yeah.
Whew, I needed to hear that.
Guess what? And I needed to say that, but guess what?
Time.
I made it through the list of questions. So I'm going to let you take it home. And if you have anything that you want to say in general, you know, we can wrap up the session.
Yeah, man. I guess my big thing, all I can say is the turning points in my life just came from being open to being different. Just be open to being different, whatever that may mean for, you know, an individual. But like, if there's things you want to do and there's places you want to go, do those things and be willing to be different. It's worth it.
Yes. Yeah, it is worth it, especially when you get wholesome outcomes.
Yes.
When the outcome is wholesome and edifying and enriching for yourself and your community, objectively speaking, truly. I don't mean this temporarily satisfying, like alcohol or a double cheeseburger or one night stand might be.
Right.
But
No. We're not talking about that. We're talking about
that stuff in social media.
We're talking about get your passport, see something different. Start a savings, invest, just take chances.
Yeah. Yes.
Take chances.
All right. Well, love and respect, Chocolate Chick. I'll put links in here. I'll ask you for the links. I'll put them here. Also, you guys will see them there in the space below the video and the thumbnail. And I'll also put them at the end in the credits and everything.
CholcolateChickTees.com. Check me out. Got something for everybody.
Facts. And with that, we're out.
All right.